Hello and welcome to Lazada Insider, featuring knowledge that makes a difference. We share trusted insights, forward-looking perspectives, and exclusive expert interviews to keep you ahead of the curve. This series is brought to you by Lazada Group Strategy.
Hi everyone, I'm your host Chen, and welcome to Lazada Insider. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow these channels for more. A Nielsen study indicates that the news cycle related to COVID-19 transmissions no longer influence the FMCG trends in Southeast Asia. Rather, new social economics and behavioral patterns have come into play and are shaping the future state of the industries. Today, we are very excited to be joined by our expert guest, Greg Houliston from NielsenIQ, one of the top market research company in the world. Greg is the regional director of NielsenIQ, and he has over 13 years of experience in Nielsen across markets. He's here to share his latest insights on the critical trends and opportunities in Southeast Asia FMCG categories. Hi, Greg. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, you are the regional and Singapore client delivery lead at NielsenIQ. Please tell us more about your positions and what it entails.
Yes, so what I do is I lead a team of analysts and consultants who are based in Singapore and actually across the whole of Asia. And what we do is we analyze retail measurement data at NielsenIQ. And ultimately, what we try to do is help both manufacturers and retailers understand more about the FMCG landscape and help them strategize to win.
And let's start talking about the impact of COVID-19 on the FMCG category in the past 1 year. So what are the major impacts you have noticed in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, so obviously COVID-19 has had a profound effect on both the economic, social, and also FMCG landscape. And actually, it's brought a lot of high volatility across the world. What we're actually seeing within the NielsenIQ data is that in many parts of the world, we're seeing record growth in FMCG, especially in areas such as Europe, Australia, and even within Southeast Asia and Singapore. We've seen unbelievable growth, helped by panic buying, people moving more of their consumption into home. However, it's not all the case across the whole of Southeast Asia. So within Southeast Asia, we need to remember that still traditional trade is very important in terms of people's purchasing behavior. So whether it's warung stores in Indonesia, sari-sari stores in the Philippines, or provision stores in Malaysia, a lot of people do go to these local neighborhood traditional trade stores to purchase their FMCG products. However, with these lockdowns such as MCOs or ECQs put in place, this is restricting people from going out as much, but also resulting in many stores closing because of concerns over hygiene and the impact of COVID-19. And actually, this will have an even more bigger effect for certain categories. So one needs to remember that categories such as beverages and snacking are heavily reliant on impulse and people buying on the go. So with the fact that people haven't been going to work as much, or obviously the lack of tourists, or people just being scared to go out, this has had an impact on those types of categories and has led to some decline in the market.
How about consumers' want and need for FMCG products? What are the major changes?
Well, first of all, I think that there has been a shift more towards people bringing out-of-home consumption in-home. So what we are seeing is that categories such as dairy, frozen, packaged goods are doing very well as people have moved more of their consumption out of home to in-home. One needs to remember that there are now more and more people trying to cook at home, whether it's because they're more of a master chef who's now trying to replicate that restaurant experience, but in home. And that could lead to them buying more finer ingredients, or it could be people trying to experiment more. But at the other end of the scale, we're also seeing that there are more constrained shoppers, and they're also bringing their out-of-home consumption in-home. If you think about it, if you do have less disposable income, you may start to eat out less. You might start to cooking at home and trying to make your meals go further. And again, that's one of the dynamics we're seeing. So irrespective of whether you're insulated and less affected by the economic situation, or whether you're constrained and you are more impacted, there is a common consensus that out-of-home consumption is coming in-home. The other area that we have seen is it's not just to do with food and people having their meals more at home, but also people bringing out-of-home consumption into their homes. From experience, when I was analyzing the last economic crash, in 2008, 2009, we saw a similar dynamic where a lot of companies and were starting to push more innovation with regard to in-home products, such as there was a rise in terms of people coloring their hair at home, or a rise of people buying haircut kits to save money or that convenience. I want you to remember that COVID-19 will further exacerbate that, because it's not just an issue where people might be trying to save money, but there's also that concern of, do I want to go out? Do I want to queue? Do I have to follow the safe distancing? And that can lead to many areas of opportunity, such as we saw a big rise in terms of products such as pedicure kits, like pedicure rollers, in the last economic crash. And that was because a lot of women didn't want to go to their pedicure shops, etc., because they wanted to save money, or they wanted to do it more regularly. And with people being more homebound, they were able to do that. So actually, it can lead to people trading up, and a great opportunity for companies and retailers to innovate.
That is interesting. I mean, it's interesting to see that there's a similarity this time compared to the economics crisis last time. And we see a lot of our home consumptions moving in home. So all these changes, do you foresee any of these changes become more long-term or even permanent?
Yeah, I do think so. If we just have a look at people's consumer confidence within Asia is still high. Okay, so that's one thing we need to remember. And actually, in markets such as Philippines and Vietnam, it's some of the highest in the world. However, what we are seeing is that consumer confidence has taken a bit of a hit because of COVID. However, in recent months, it's starting to come back, and people's willingness to spend is still there. However, what we are finding is that people's concerns are still around health and economy, and these will have profound effects in terms of people's long-term purchasing behavior. What is also interesting is that there's a rise in people being more concerned about job security. And as I've mentioned before, that will lead to more and more constrained shoppers. So as we've alluded to, there will be two types of shoppers: those who are less impacted, insulated, and those who are more impacted and constrained. With the fact that in a market like Vietnam, job security is now the top concern, we do believe that that will mean that people will start to be looking for better deals. People will start to trade down in certain areas, and there will be longer term effects. And we do believe this homebound economy is a long-term trend. Even with regard to Singapore, we're talking that now 75% of people can come into the office, but in reality, I think that it's going to be slow for people to come back, and we're going to move to more of a hybrid working arrangement. And we have to think that last year, people have got used to working at home, spending more time at home, having breakfast at home, lunch at home, dinner at home. And these will, some habits will revert back, but we do believe this trend of the packaged food continually growing will be a long-term trend, which will persist. And from our data, we are seeing that the growth is not relenting. It's even though you move from a phase 2 to phase 3, the growth is still there. And we do think this is a long-term trend, but also a great opportunity. With people bringing more of their consumption into home, there's a great opportunity for a lot of your listeners to think of new ways to captivate and stimulate their purchasing behavior, because people will be looking to bring their consumption in home, and they'll be looking from different aspects. As I mentioned, some people will be looking to replicate that out-of-home experience in home, whereas some people will be feeling staying at home is a way for me to save money should there be challenges such as recession or potential job insecurity.
You share a bit about the long-term changes in Southeast Asia. So with all these changes, what are the opportunities for our businesses selling FMCG products, and how can they actually best untap these opportunities?
Yeah, so I think for a lot of the listeners here, I think that obviously e-commerce has been a big winner in terms of COVID-19. And I think that COVID-19 has been a tipping point in terms of the evolution of e-commerce. We know that e-commerce is huge, but there was always this perception that e-commerce was, from an FMCG perspective, was a lot more focused towards baby, cosmetics, household care, whereas it wasn't really as aligned to the offline market on other areas. However, we have seen from our consumer panel data that there has been that tipping point. So if we take Singapore, for example, if you look at the offline market, fresh fruit and fresh vegetables is the biggest selling category in the offline market. But it was always around number five or six in the online arena. However, during COVID, I think around April, when obviously there was the circuit breaker came in, we started to see fresh fruit and vegetables become the number one online as well. And I think there's always this perception that I don't want to buy my fresh fruit or vegetables online because I want to pick my fruit or vegetables. I don't know if it's going to come in a good state, etc. However, I feel that the e-tailers have done a fantastic job in terms of things such as delivery, the fact that you can now schedule when things come. I think there's a lot more trust in quality as well. And, I think that people are having bad experiences and they're repeat purchasing. So we are seeing that shift in terms of categories, that what's happening offline will start to become what's happening online. I think that one thing which could be an opportunity maybe for Lazada could be that I was looking through the data and bakery is very big in the offline spectrum, but it's comparatively smaller. So maybe in the future, some of your sellers might be looking to set up online bakery stores, because again, we will think that some of these offline trends, there's no reason now why they can't work online. It's the same with ice cream. People thought, I would never buy ice cream online. Well, ice cream is booming online. People are they're spending time at home, watching Netflix and buying tubs of ice cream, and e-commerce is the channel they're buying it on. So if I take a step back, we need to remember also that consumers are going to be a lot more promiscuous in terms of what they're buying. And that's going to be driven by the economic and social challenges from COVID-19. We've done a recent analysis across Southeast Asia. And actually what we found is that 80% of sales in Southeast Asia come from brands who are ranked below number 20 in their category. So more of a smaller brand still account for the huge amount of sales in FMCG. And also we find that 82% of Southeast Asians want to try new products. But at the same time, we also need to understand that people want to buy brands what they're familiar with. So it's a very contradictory environment. People want to buy many different brands. They are willing to try something new, but they want to have trust in that brand. They're not just going to try a brand which they get pushed to on Instagram, etc., without knowing it's reputable. So that will lead to even more people trusting reviews, really doing research. And we need to remember that even though people will be willing to buy more and more products, there will be people who are more constrained. And if you do have tighter wallets, you're less likely to take risks in terms of trying that new moisturizer or trying that new baby formula, because if it doesn't work, then you've wasted money. However, we do believe that people will be more challenged because of the economic climate, and they will be looking for better products at better deals. And e-commerce is the perfect way to address that, because what better way can you have full visibility of different prices? You can check reviews, you can go to the company's website, check for credentials very quickly. And I think that will definitely help in terms of people, directing people to new categories and new opportunities. And also one other dynamic, which I think is quite interesting to share, is that we are seeing different trade up, trade down dynamics by category. And one thing which is really interesting is we're starting to see that people are trading down for themselves, but maybe trading up for their loved ones. So from our data, we're starting to see that for categories such as tobacco, where you would naturally buy the product for yourself, and obviously it's slightly more expensive, people are starting to downtrade, and more the mass and economy brands are growing faster. Whilst on the other hand, what we're seeing is that for categories such as pet food, baby care, and also OTC and health supplements, this is where premiumization is growing much faster, which then leads to the fact that if I'm buying for my pet, my baby, or my parents, I'm willing to trade up more. So again, for your sellers, that could be a great opportunity in terms of trying to work out different ways to do pricing or promotions on that. And one other thing I would like to share, which I think is quite interesting, we also did a survey in terms of trying to understand what consumers want from innovations. And we actually saw a very diverging trend. Actually, most people are saying, what I want the retailers and manufacturers to do is to create more larger packs, but with lower price per volume. So again, we know that people are moving their consumption in home, so they're consuming more. But at the same time, they are a bit more sensitive about price points and getting that value for money. And we know that in many parts of Southeast Asia, people love a deal. And they do perceive that larger pack where they can work out that they get more value for their dollars as something of a trend. And we were seeing that naturally in categories such as baby formula. We were starting to see more and more packs go above 4 kilograms. And there was always that perception that, could a mother really go to a local store and carry a 4 kilogram pack? And that was one of the concerns coming from the manufacturers. However, they were seeing this trend that it was growing. Actually, with e-commerce and the boom of more delivery companies, that problem of the mother having to carry such a large pack is not a worry. So those mothers who think, well, now I have to feed my baby through this infant formula for the next few months, will be looking to trade up, not trade up necessarily, but move to larger packs where they can get more value for money. However, we also need to bear in mind that there's going to be another trend, that some people will have very fixed income, disposable income, in terms of what they can spend. And, they might be looking for smaller packs at lower price points because, again, they may be working on a budget of maybe, $50 a week. And I have to feed my family and do everything around that. So, again, what we do believe is an opportunity for a lot of your sellers, etc., is really trying to look at that price and pack architecture in terms of your range. Start to think about what could I do to create maybe a smaller pack at a lower price to drive that trial, or to drive that buyer who may be a bit more constrained in terms of their price point. But then at the other end of the scale, how do I also tailor for that consumer who loves my product, but really wants to get more of it at a better price? And now, because of a fantastic delivery that it can get, they don't have to worry about things such as carrying the product from the store, and they can enjoy their product for longer and reap the rewards of saving money.
Sure. Last but not least, you have kind of highlighted a few emerging trends like bakery and ice cream previously. So are there any other exciting emerging trends in FMCG categories in Southeast Asia that we need to pay attention to?
Yeah, it's like I said, I've never seen the FMCG market so dynamic at the moment. So it really does offer a lot of opportunities. And within NielsenIQ, what we do believe is there'll be 5 big trends which will become a lot more profound in 2021. So the 5 trends are convenience, homebound, alternative, natural, and blend. So I'll just go through them and just give a bit more context for your listeners. So convenience, that's no surprise. I think we all know, we can all probably think about our own purchasing behavior and see that we're all trying to look for more convenience because we're working longer hours, we want an easier lifestyle. But convenience could mean different things to both the insulated and the constrained. So generally when we talk about convenience, we'll talk about new routes to market or new ways to consume products. But it could vary. So for an insulated consumer who is someone who's not impacted in terms of their disposable income, that could be wanting direct-to-consumer models or subscription models. I don't necessarily want to worry about going into Lazada every month and buy, but maybe I tap an icon and I get everything delivered to me every month. And I don't have to worry about having to go into that purchase behavior. That's more for the insulated. A constrained spender, convenience for them could be more getting more out of their product. So when I buy a household cleaner, maybe in the past I bought a bathroom cleaner, a toilet cleaner, a floor cleaner, whereas now convenience for me is I probably need something all in one because I'm a bit tighter on my budget. Homebound, we've touched on it quite a lot in terms of people spending more time at home. That's no doubt going to bring opportunities, but also threats. If you're a beverage company, beverage is not as accepted online. And we can look across other markets, still not transcending in markets like China, etc. And it's a real battle. So people will need to start thinking more creatively. How do I overcome that in a market like beverage? Does that mean that beverages, not all beverages are declining. People bring their coffee into home, their tea into home. It's just the other traditional on-the-go beverages which are declining. But that could mean for an insulated consumer, the rise of coffee machines or, products like SodaStream, where people can make their own carbonated drinks at home, etc. So that homebound innovation is important. However, we also can see that maybe for constrained shoppers, there'll be a need to really address some of their areas of concern that maybe when they're homebound, maybe when they make a meal, it will lead to, that meal might have to last a few days and they have to freeze the food. And then that brings opportunities, storage products, cooking items which can help them get more out of their meals. Even giving people recipe ideas that if you make this batch of pasta or rice, one meal have it like this, one meal having like that. There's a lot of creativity you can do around that. The third one was around alternatives. So we're starting to see a rise of plant-based milk, goat milk, lactose-free. These are real trends coming through. And I think that this will expand beyond just the traditional milks. We're starting to see it come into ice cream, yogurts, etc. I'm sure even milk powders, goat milk powder for babies is rising. But then at the other end of the spectrum, for the more constrained shopper, that could be maybe in the past I bought liquid milk, but I might have to move to milk powder again for that kind of trying to save money and having that pressure. The fourth angle was around natural. So I think we all know that natural is a dynamic. And I think there was always that question is, as some markets go into recession and due to COVID, do people want to drop this kind of dynamic? And I think on a larger scale, I think sustainability still has a role. If I talk about that, because if you think about it, with refill packs, it's less packaging. It can offer the consumer more value for money. This is a great way to drive more sustainability. If we take it natural and a bit more of a specific case, I think the beauty market and cosmetics is a key area where we will see a shift towards more natural. I'm sure many of the listeners here, the ladies, maybe they haven't been buying as much cosmetics because they haven't been going to the office as much, or because they're wearing a mask, or haven't been going out as much. And I think that what we're starting to see is that there is that need for more natural beauty. I don't know if that's because people now can rely on filters to make them look good, or whether it's because people are now used to not having so much. So we do think that there might be a trade up to some of the more high-end beauty products for those insulated spenders, because a lot of that high-end cosmetics do say that with this one product, you can do a lot with it. So that could be a way that there could be natural. But for the more constrained spender, natural could be cutting certain aspects of their beauty regime. Perhaps, we were seeing that growing trend that people were saying, use your moisturizer, your cleanser, your toner, etc. Whereas now people might have to look at cutting back and go a bit, trying to make their products go a bit further. And then the last area is blends. So this is more about collaboration. And again, the e-commerce spectrum is a fantastic like a leader in terms of that. And what we do think is there will be more co-collaboration, whether it be between retailers and manufacturers, or even between manufacturers. You've got many brands who are doing very well and some which are not doing very well. And that co-collaboration can drive more cross-purchasing. It could be complementary products going together. So again, for many of your sellers, maybe if your categories are not doing so well, think about the ones which are doing well and how can you partner with them and try to leverage their success. And also, I guess for the more constrained spenders, there will be maybe a need for potentially even retailers like yourself partnering with non-profit organizations to help the people who need and more help. So again, I think that there's many ways that people can come together. And we see that a lot from that community purchasing, which is huge in China. Again, and in areas of like Southeast Asia, like Philippines, we see lots of bartering, online bartering. I think building up that community of people coming together is also a great opportunity. So when your sellers are looking at creative ways to work together, the power of coming together will be very good. So I think just to end is that we also do believe that innovation is a great opportunity, and that don't be afraid that during these challenging times where there's a lot of uncertainty to launch innovation, because we do believe that those who take ownership and are brave to try new things are the ones who will prosper. And we have done a recent survey in Southeast Asia, and actually when we ask people about what their top concerns are, naturally health and economy come up. But we're also starting to see that people are saying that they're not, they want to enjoy life more, and also that they're quite worried about their mental health and mood. So I think that there's a great opportunity for Lazada and your sellers to try to brighten up people's days. You've got to think about FMCG, whether it's a treat which can make someone happy or something which can make someone's life better. We have a great impact on people's lives. So whether it's in terms of communication or initiatives which can brighten up a lot of the Southeast Asian consumers who haven't been able to see their friends or haven't been able to go on holiday, there's a great opportunity for us to innovate around that area. So like I said, I think that there's fantastic opportunity across Southeast Asia. I really expect that this year to be highly dynamic with lots of people purchasing more online and looking to buy new categories, new products, and hopefully we can facilitate this environment to help better their lives too.
Oh, thank you very much for sharing with us so many good insights. I believe I need to replay it multiple times to really digest all these good insights. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you very much again for fascinating and insightful sharing.
Thank you for having me.
This is Lazada Insider, brought to you by Lazada Group Strategy. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you click follow and subscribe so you don't miss our latest insights and expert interviews. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Lazada.